Hello everybody and welcome to another fly tying session with your host Scott. In this session we're going to be tying a fly known as the Dunkeld. Now in my book here, A Fly Tyer's Guide to Fishing Flies by Martin Ford, they've got the Dunkeld in the wet flies section for brown trout. But then I read the passage next to it and it says the Dunkeld was first recorded in a book on angling by Francis back in 1876. And has a close connection to the River Tay in Scotland, in particular the town of Dunkeld. When first discovered it was billed as a salmon fly, but it was later discovered that when used in smaller sizes it was a really good fly pattern for wild brown trout. Therefore I'm going to tie the fly as originally intended. So in the vise we've got a size 6 salmon hook. These ones are by Partridge and they're called basically a bar fleet bend. That's the type of hook we're looking for, and it's a single. For your tail, you're going to need some golden pheasant topping or crest. For your tag and your rib, we're going to be using a gold tinsel. It's an oval tinsel, French oval tinsel. This is the small one in gold. For the main body we're going to be using a size 12 mylar tinsel. This is gold on one side and silver the other. We're going to be using the gold side. For the throw tackle we're going to be using a hot orange Indian cock cape. This one's by a company called Stillwater. And then for the wing I've got a lovely fresh packet of bronze mallard. And that's all there is to that one. So if you guys are following and you want to tie it as a wet fly for brown trout, just grab your size 10, 12 and 14 B170s or B175s and you can do the same pattern, but I'll probably not tie it with a tag. The tags look quite good on a salmon fly, but probably not very good on a wet fly hook. So these hooks are fairly unique. As you can see, where you tie the pattern with the head of the fly is basically what's closing the eye of the hook as well. So you do need to be a little bit careful because your thread turns are basically what's holding the whole thing together. So you definitely have to come in at the eye and you have to come in quite tightly, as tight as you dare, with close turns to close that up as best as you can. And then once you've got to there, we're going to tie in the oval tinsel just to keep the profile of the body even, because we're going to be covering the whole thing pretty much in tinsel, so you need an even base for that. So this is a brand new pack of tinsel, so bear with me, I'm just getting it unhooked. We're going to need quite a lot of it because it's a small one. You could use a medium one if you wanted to. And then we're going to come in my side where this bend is completed and tie it in on the side of the hook. And once I've got a few turns in, I'll show you what I mean. Like so, along the length of the hook. And that should just even up the profile just a little bit. Now, because it's such a large hook, you don't really need to do close turns. Especially, all you need to do is make sure that it's even. Then we're going to take the thread down. Hopefully you guys can see the barb of the hook, but we're going to take it down so that the thread dangles in line with the point of the barb. About there. And that's it, that's how we gauge the size of the butt. Then we're going to bring the thread back up, this time with close turns. And then we're going to stop when it's in line with the point and that gives you a nice even size and a consistent size for the butt. Now you're going to wind as close turns as you can with the oval tinsel. If you've got a thick gold wire, you can use that as well. As you can see, it takes quite a few turns to get it there, but we're nearly there now. There we are, then we're going to tie that off. And then we're going to pull it back again into the material clip. Just put a couple of turns there just to hold it there, that's it. And that'll be your rib. Then we're going to get a single golden pheasant feather. And they've got a natural curvature to them, so hopefully we can drop it in, it will drop in just nice. It's quite difficult to get right, so what I normally do is I actually lick my finger and thumb and then brush it so it sticks together nicely like that. Doesn't always work, especially if you haven't had a drink for a while. Now the tail's completely up to you. I'm going to have it quite long on this one. And you want it so it's pointed up the way. Pinch, turn and drop it in. And then secure. Now it's important that you try and keep that profile as long as you can. So this is quite wasteful because gold pheasant is extremely expensive, but we're going to cut that basically the length of the body. And then we're going to tidy up. Okay, so then we're going to get our mylar tinsel and we're going to tie it in silver side up at the head. And I normally put it on the top of the hook there because it's a lot easier to tie in. There we go, it's in. And then just a few turns just to lock it off. And we're there. And you want to do touching turns. Or fairly close to touching. At the head it doesn't really matter because we're going to be putting a hackle there in a minute. But on the body it's absolutely vital you get it right. You don't want them to overlap because it will start winding quite uneven. One full turn at the base of the tail. And then start doing touching turns back. Now some of the salmon flies I've been tying for a display piece are actually wet flies that I've scaled up. And I'm thinking if they work for brown trout they'll work perfectly fine for salmon as well. So the butcher, for example, the Alexandra, the teal blue and silver, they would all make, in my opinion, very good salmon flies. Okay, and then you're going to get your oval tinsel in gold and just start winding your rib. You can use a gold wire. traditionally salmon flies are tied with an oval tinsel, so I like to stick to the traditional ingredients if I can. Yeah, and then tie that in. And trim away. So I'm going to need quite a large feather for the hackle. These ones are probably halfway down on the cape. Yeah, that's probably about right. And you don't want any of this stuff that I haven't managed to bleach. You just want the orange ones. And then tie that in at the head. You want about, I don't know, probably 3-4 turns maybe of this on the as a hackle. Yeah, it's probably about 5 turns. I'll get quite a meaty hackle on it, I think. This is the first time I've tied one of these, so I'm just sort of doing it as we go along. Just trim away the stalk. And I got rid of the end of it as well at the same time. That was fortuitous. Tied up a little bit, ready in preparation for the wing. So for the wing we're going to be using some bronze mallard, according to the original recipe. And it appears to be quite a short wing on the wet fly, but I'm going to see how long I can get it on this one. You're probably going to need several bunches of it. Just keep adding bunches until it looks about right in profile. That's what I can say, really. Yep, I think that'll do us. And trim away the excess at the head. And then start to form your head. Okay. There's a feather fibre I've missed there. I'm just going to try and get rid of that. There we go. And then whip finish. And that is the Dunkeld. So you're going to varnish to finish. Now you could use Davy McPhail's trick with salmon flies is to actually super glue the head, let that dry and then varnish over the top. Apparently that gives you a really nice finish. So that's a good tip. I'm just going to varnish this one for now. And there we are. The River Tay classic, the Dunkeld. Please like, share and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.